Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Transformation Roundtable. Tonight, we're going to have Heather Pullman, who's going to be talking to us about, well, a number of different things, but among them is going to uh, be just, a lot of having to do with mindset and, and not quitting, but before we get too far, let me go ahead and let's bring Adam up here and just pop him in.
Yep, Adam's on.
How's
There
it
you
going,
go.
everybody? Thanks, Jerry, for the shout out. I appreciate it.
Hey, isn't it nice to, to be able to bring somebody on and not have to fumble around with Facebook Live and go, is it working? Is it working? Is it working?
It is a breath of fresh air, my brother.
Oh, man. Hey, and the sound works.
Yeah,
Someone comes on almost instantly. This is great. I love it.
I do too. This is a
But
breath of fresh air.
Adam, do you have any housekeeping that we need to take care of before we bring Heather on?
Yeah, we just want to make sure that everyone just, if they have any questions or anything, please leave some comments. If you want to have your questions read on the show, make sure that you give the link in our announcements so you can go ahead and have it show your name and picture on our comments on the page here. And please enjoy and make sure you share, like, and all those good things.
Absolutely, and double check on the top of the page, and that's where you'll find the link for that'll say Facebook comments. Other than that, it's it'll be anonymous, and you probably won't be put on air. But if you click on that, it'll redirect and come back to itself. So you may not see it do anything, but come back in, and we should be able to see you. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring Heather on. And we'll sit back and comment as things are. But realize if Heather looks away from the camera, it's because she gets to play. Not only is she going to be doing all the talking for a bit, she has to play director with all this. So she's got a lot of stuff that's going on. So she looks away from the camera and she's busy.
she has her stuff in order. She's her master control, and we're grateful for it. So please take it away.
Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, so I've got three setups right now. I've got the production monitor in front of me. I've got notes for tonight in front of me. I've got our show actually going live on my tablet. But the really most challenging thing is I've got two 12-and-a-half-week-old kittens playing in the room. So things are falling, things are moving. So if you start hearing craziness, just ignore it. It's my normal household here. So thanks for the introduction. This is a show I've been wanting to do for a while. We're going to talk about quitting, really, the psychology behind quitting. We're going to have a very, hopefully a very quick psychology 101 lesson. And then we're going to talk about quitting and goal setting and maintaining those goals. I want to say I am a pro at quitting. I have quit so much stuff in my life. I danced for a while. I've played piano. I've played violin. I've played viola. I rode horses. I mean, it's just all of these things that I quit. And I realized at some point it's because nothing actually triggered the pleasure center of my brain very well. And we're going to kind of talk about that today in terms of setting goals and what a reward is for each individual person. We'll be getting into that a little bit. And that'll be a lot of our conversation. I'm grateful to have Adam on here because Adam is absolutely the opposite of me, the king of non-quitting. How many days is it, Adam?
Over 3,361 plus.
I mean, that's just amazing, and kudos to you. And Gary's not really hot at the whole quitting thing these days either. And
yeah,
I'm
not like Adam. I do take a day off. I have to. But even if I did every single day, I wouldn't even be up to 360 yet because I'm about a month out from my 1-year anniversary with DDPY.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah.
So.
Also, I'm not seeing us on the Transformation Roundtable page yet.
I'm actually watching us right now.
I am too.
So just reload the page and pop us up because Tim's already commented. So
Okay.
on there.
Yes,
We're good.
I see
We've
that.
got people watching. So before I get started, I guess one of the main questions I should answer, even though it wasn't asked, I figure I'll answer it is, am I qualified to talk about this? And in a weird roundabout way, I am. I've actually been a professional dog trainer for over 2 decades. I started over 20 years ago with this amazing woman, Kathy Sabin. And I've trained on and off, and then I did it pretty heavily the last 5 or so years. I actually started training my own dogs when I was 3, and I started showing when I was 6, and I won my first Best of Show and Best of Tricks when I was 7. But I went to school, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, to get my certifications in dog training. And one of the things I had to learn about was, canine behavior, and took a lot of psychology, because the psychology in training behaviors is the same, whether you're talking cats, dogs, dolphins, humans, it doesn't matter. The psychology is still the same. And so we're going to be talking about that today. I do have 7 different certifications in dog training and a whole bunch of awards. This is just part of my brag wall, and I have a little bit over here as well. So, I've been doing this for a while, and this is something that I just find really interesting, because, quitting something is really about training our brain to think a new way about behavior. So in our short psychology lesson tonight, we're going to talk about the difference between classical and operant conditioning. We're also going to talk about extinction burst and the Premack principle before we go into goal setting. So we're going to hit classical conditioning first. Classical conditioning, or Pavlovian conditioning, we've all heard about Pavlov's dogs. It's that method that we're going to talk about. Pavlovian conditioning is learning through association. So there's 3 stages of conditioning. Stage 1 is before conditioning. This is where we take an unconditioned stimulus, and that produces an unconditioned response. What the heck am I talking about? Basically, it means that some type of a stimulus in the environment creates a behavior or response that is a natural response, something that hasn't been taught. So let's go to Pavlov's dogs. This is food creates salivation and hunger in a dog. That's all that it is that you have a unconditioned stimulus, something that we didn't have to teach the dog that this is food. They know it naturally is food, and it naturally creates this response of salivation and hunger. Stage 2 is during conditioning. This is when we introduce a neutral stimulus that doesn't have anything to do with the unconditioned stimulus. So this is where Pavlov brought in a bell. Every time he fed the dogs, he rang the bell. And so what happens is, in the brain, it starts building a pathway. Bell and food equals salivation and hunger. And that's stage 3, after conditioning. So it's where we now have conditioned a response to something that shouldn't have that response. And this basically, the simple way of doing classical conditioning, explaining it, is having an item or an object that should not evoke a response. Now it's evoking a response because you paired it with another stimulus. And there's a great video that I want to show everyone, and I'm hoping that this video actually works for you guys. It's a great video. It was done at a university. It's a kid, a psychology student, who wanted to do a very short video about classical conditioning. So I'm going to actually mute everybody and see if our viewers can actually see this. I'm going to mute myself too, so I'm going to turn up my tablet so I can make sure that this is syncing well. So I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to mute Gary, mute Adam.
Hey Psych 101 class, I'm David and I'm going to be testing Pavlov's theory of classical conditioning on my roommate Brian. The conditioned stimulus will be this sound effect.
That was easy.
And then I'm going to shoot him with this airsoft gun. He will soon learn the relationship between the sound effect and the shot before he gets too hurt.
That was easy. That was easy.
Ah!
That was easy.
Fuck.
That was easy. That was easy.
All right, guys, looks like Pavlov's theory worked.
All right. So I hope everybody got to see that video okay. It's one of my favorite ones. I used to show it when I was doing dog training seminars all the time. It's a perfect example. Oh, let me turn it down. Sorry. It's a perfect example of Pavlovian theory, in that the roommate slowly started associating that the easy button, every time he heard that was easy, was going to hurt. And it's a great example of it. And how does this correlate with quitting and weight loss? Well, we are classically conditioned to certain things. If you've ever sat down and eaten your dinner in front of the TV, and you know the eating is a reward. Okay, this is something that we love to do. It creates the salivation, the hunger. And as you're watching TV, you're seeing a commercial of Burger King, McDonald's, whatever it is. And as you're eating, you're watching that, that TV starts becoming Pavlov's bell. Okay, so you can start getting hungry and salivating just by watching TV. It's because you were eating while you were watching TV and it was causing that same response. So sometimes one of the ways that we have difficulty with dieting is we still hold on to some bad habits, like eating in front of a TV, if that's something that we did before we were dieting. And we can touch on that a little bit more. Any questions? Do you guys have any questions on that so far?
Not at this time.
Okay.
No, I thought it was very interesting.
We're going to talk about operant conditioning then, which is actually called it's also known as the Skinner method. Skinner actually discovered that learning through rewards and punishment changes behavior. Now, Thorndike actually had, his law of effect was the precursor to Skinner's theory. Thorndike's law of effect basically says that behavior that's followed by pleasant consequences is usually repeated, and behavior that's followed by unpleasant consequences is less likely to be repeated. What Skinner did is when he came along and saw Thorndike's law of effect, he added a new element. He added reinforcement into the theory. And so what this did is behavior which is reinforced tends to be strengthened. Behavior that's not reinforced tends to disappear over time. And that's a really important thing, because that's where a lot of our diet and exercise when we start a program becomes very difficult, and we tend to quit. But it's also where things like drinking, smoking, things like that, eating badly, become very easy to hold on to and very difficult to quit. And we're going to be explaining that really soon in detail, but we have to go over extinction burst. Extinction burst is observed both in classical and operant conditioning. It manifests by fading of a non-reinforced conditioned response. So basically that means that if you're doing something, if you're trying to break a habit, And I usually use smoking as a really good one. As you start to quit smoking, you go cold turkey. Your brain goes, okay, I'm starting to get a little anxious. I'm starting to have some issues. And all of a sudden, your brain goes into temper tantrum and it says, I want a cigarette. I have to have a cigarette. This is an extinction burst. So it usually happens at the beginning of when we're trying to break a habit. And it's the brain's temper tantrum basically saying, take the easy way out. Because that's really what our brain is saying. You know, when we choose to change our behavior, we're creating new neural pathways in our brain. And those new neural pathways can be very difficult. When we get an extinction burst, this is a cause of anxiety and fear. And what's really interesting is scientists are now showing that people with anxiety disorders and people with PTSD may be affected by extinction bursts, that's part of the cause of their conditions, because they have some type of a conditioned fear response, and it's their brain fighting because that conditioned fear response hasn't properly been removed out of it. So when our soldiers come back from fighting or from war, something that they've seen or had to deal with over and over that caused them fear, when they get back, they're kind of thrown back into society and they're not given the training that they need to overcome that fear. And that's part of what that extinction burst process is. And so let's explain this a little bit further. So what I want to kind of talk about is how our brain seeds a reward system. Thousands of years ago, we were a hunter-gatherer society. So what that means is we actually had to travel based on seasons to find food and to follow herds in order to hunt. And at that time, we were expending so much energy. I mean, think about how much energy it would take to be a nomadic society. And we were existing on diets, an evolutionary diet of high fats. Now, these are pure animal protein fats, okay? We're not talking all the crap fats that we have today. This is just pure from the mastodon or whatever they were, getting at the time, bison, buffalo, all that stuff. And they were surviving on carbs. Now, these carbs are coming from things like rice and potatoes. They're coming from fruits and vegetables, because everything, fruits and vegetables, they all have carbs in them. That's what our bodies were existing on. Even though our society has changed, our bodies haven't changed in an evolutionary mind. Who doesn't love a high-fat food? I mean, I think every one of us, whether it's dairy or it's a great piece of steak or, whatever, your brain loves that. And it sets off the pleasure section of your brain. And so that's what our brains are designed for. The problem with this is we don't think about rewards. So here's a great example for you. You're sitting on the couch. You're not in the diet and exercise mode yet. You're sitting on the couch. You're watching TV, and McDonald's comes on, and they show that big, beautiful Big Mac. I think it's Big Mac from McDonald's. I haven't had McDonald's in so long.
Yeah,
I think
Big
it's
Mac,
a Big
quarter
Mac,
pounder. Yeah,
whatever they are.
Yeah.
And obviously we know they never look the same in the restaurant than they do on the TV. But you've been conditioned at this point, because you've been eating in front of the TV. You've been conditioned that when you see that burger, you're like, oh man, I really want one. So what do? You get up and go get one. Wrong. You have to make the decision to get up. Then you have to physically get up, possibly change clothes, get your wallet, your keys, your purse, whatever it is, find your glasses, lock your house up, get in the car. You've got to fight traffic. You've got to travel. You've got to do all this stuff. There's hundreds of microtransactions that are going on in your brain. And when you get that burger, that fat, those carbs are your brain's reward for all of those microtransactions. So do you ever find that if you're traveling to go get that food, and I'm using food because food is, the root of all evil for many of us. You're traveling, and the closer you get, the hungrier you are. Or even worse, you get caught in traffic, or somebody's being a total, jerk in traffic, and you're getting angry. And when you get up to that window, you go, you know what? Supersize it. Because I earned it. That's your brain telling you, go ahead. Go ahead. You earned it. You got to have it. This is your reward. And if we've rewarded ourselves with food, especially high fat, high carb food for a long time, that's what you need to learn how to quit. And the only way you can quit that is by changing your brain, changing your mindset, and building new neural pathways. So that's just one example of how those foods have become a reward. Now, your reward can be so many different things. And it's so important to understand two things. How does your brain work?
Go ahead and drop me out. I'm going to have people walking through.
All right, I'm going to just mute you. How does your brain work? My brain likes instant gratification. Some people, like Adam, can handle long-term goals. And I'm kind of jealous because Adam can go for 3,000 and some odd days and not get bored and not lose motivation, not be uninspired. Let's see if Gary is back on. For me, I have to have instant gratification. Yep. I have to have instant gratification. I need to see something different happening. It's just the way that my brain works. The other thing you have to figure out is what's right for you, for your body. What I eat is not necessarily right for Gary or for Adam. None of us can figure out what Adam eats. Adam does his own diet.
System.
Yeah, it's his own system, and but you have to figure out what's a reward for yourself. So there's something called the Premack principle, and the Premack principle is also called the relative theory of reinforcement, or grandma's rule. And we've all had the grandma or the mom or someone in our life that said, if you want your dessert, you have to eat your vegetables. Okay, that's grandma's rule. And it's basically where we use a behavior that is a positive behavior, something that we really, really like, to reward something that we don't necessarily enjoy doing. And this is so super important to understand, because your rewards don't have to be food. And that's what this all comes down to. Your rewards don't have to be food.
And Heather, I want to break in for a second
Yeah, go
on
ahead.
that. Because what you were just talking about, me growing up, I grew up in a household where, cleaning your plate was what you were supposed to do. You didn't want, you didn't want to leave food on the plate. And so, my whole life, eat whatever you had. And then when I got married, my ex-wife, she grew up in a house that was different than that. You would eat, but if your plate was empty, that meant you're not done yet, and so they would give you more until you left something on the plate. Yeah, you can imagine what that did for me.
Right.
It took a while, but I got to the point where she would serve stuff up, and I'd be going, "Please stop! I'm eating too much." But it did take years to get to that point.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I gained a lot of weight.
Well, and that's the thing is, I think a lot of people use food as a reward, because we're just programmed for it. Our bodies, when we were a hunter-gatherer society, needed a huge amount of calories just to, be doing the traveling, fighting the weather, living in the elements, and things like that. And our brains haven't changed. They haven't evolved to this new healthy society, because back then that was healthy, because they were burning, 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day without a problem. So there's different ways that we can use a reward system. I'm big on using the environment as a reward. So I love sitting out in the sun. It makes me feel good. I love that warmth of the sun soaking into my body and getting into my bones and feeling all kind of loose and everything. So when I go to the gym, I get my exercise done because sometimes it's not the most pleasurable thing. I get my exercise done, and my reward for it is laying out in the sun for a little bit and getting to just bake and relax and have some me time, listen to my music and just relax. Cheat days, while some people disagree with them, and I totally get that, you can do a moderate cheat day as a reward. So, and that's what I do. I eat very well 5 days a week. And on Saturdays and Sundays, I eat maybe a mid-range healthy. I try not to eat anything super unhealthy, but that's kind of where I might throw in some potatoes, which aren't on my diet, or I might throw in the red meat or something like that. That's my version of a cheat day, not an all-out like gorge fest or anything. Using food as a reward, you can do that. You just have to be very careful that you don't slide down a slippery slope with that. But there's ways. There's like a high protein, low fat ice cream that you hit a major goal, let's say, and you want to have a little bit of ice cream. If you moderate it, yeah, you can use food as an reward. The other reward that you can use is goal setting. And I've talked to Adam and Gary about it this week. I have completely changed my goal setting system. I have found that my brain hates numbers. So weight loss for me is not a goal. Yes, it's a goal, but sitting there and saying, okay, I'm 180 something right now, 180, 188, 190, 192, it kind of fluctuates. So I can sit here and say, I want to be 180. And then I work at it. When I get to 180, guess what? 170 is next. And my brain goes, man, that's boring. Same thing with measurements. Sure, I'd love a decent size waist, but watching it slowly eke down and then slowly eke down and sometimes eke up, my brain doesn't like that. And a size of clothing, most women know women's sizing is ridiculous in the first place. I could probably fit into a size 12 pair of jeans if I can find the right pair of size 12, but a size doesn't matter to me. What I found is I'm going to use my capability as a reward for myself. So I'm going to actually pick 100 poses, yoga poses that I want to achieve as a reward. I'm going to make a poster with my daughter. And every time I get to one of those yoga poses, I'm going to take a picture and put it up on the board. This is more instantly gratifying because every day I can work on those poses and see a little bit more improvement. I can pick something new to do, but I'll be able to have a visual representation of how much more capable I'm becoming. And I don't want people to get stuck in thinking that you have to diet and exercise and refrain from anything pleasurable, anything rewarding. For some people, some exercise is more rewarding than others. So you can always use the exercise as your reward. I know Gary loves to ride his bike. So, he may find that cleaning up around the house, something he may hate doing, he can then earn the time to go out for himself and ride his bike. Oh, Gary disappeared on us. So Adam, what do you use as a reward system for yourself? Do you have a reward system?
I do have a reward system. It's a little bit different than most. I do love the outdoors. I do love just sitting on the side deck over here and just watching. I live on a highway, so the cars go by sometimes a little bit, or if a train goes by out here, it's very relaxing to me. Listening to music, I'm a big music fanatic. Reading some books. So, or sometimes even going to a movie, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So, I kind of do that seldomly, but I do like to do that, just doing simple things. Simplicity makes the greatest impact for me, so I love doing that.
And Deborah Dugan just posted, here comes Gary.
Okay.
Deborah Dugan posted that she's written on her goal board an ability as a goal, like being able to hike a really hard trail that she's never been fit enough to do. And that's exactly what we're talking about, Deborah, is you finding another reward system, because not all of us are have the programming in our brains to be able to handle using food as a reward, or being able to just get really excited off of a measurement or a scale, what the scale says. And so it's so important to be able to figure this out. What we have to do, though, when you're trying to quit something that's difficult, usually that's like some type of a habit, bad habit, whether it's biting nails or smoking cigarettes or drinking. Even if you're not on the addict spectrum, but you're just enjoying it, but you're having difficulty quitting, those things give you some type of pleasure. And that's why they say if you're going to quit smoking, chew carrots or chew gum or do this, that, and the other, because they're trying to replace the pleasurable part of that habit with something that's equal in value. And that's what you have to figure out, is your own value system, your own reward system. But that's what makes it hard when you are trying to diet. Look, we've talked about going out and getting that burger and how rewarding that is to your brain. Now think about, you changed your diet, okay, and you're exercising. And so now you're doing all this hard work exercising, and you go and get a salad. And your brain goes, what the hell is that? There is nothing rewarding in this for me. There's no fat. There's no carbs. This sucks. And your brain throws this epic temper tantrum going, but you want that McDonald's burger. You want that Starbucks, or you want those eggs and bacon, or whatever it is. That's what your brain's craving. There's your extinction burst. The way that I can describe this in the dog world is you're teaching your dog not to jump on you, and it's working. And then all of a sudden your dog's constantly jumping on you. And you're like, but I'm training him all the time and he's jumping on me. It's that brain going, take the easy way out. Just give me those high value rewards, because you're really, really stressing me out. And when those extinction bursts happen, you're feeling anxiety, you're feeling nervousness, you're twitching, you're craving things. You may be getting a little emotional. You may be getting pissy about stuff. What you do in that moment changes your life. You can quit. You can give in to your brain, and you can go suck down that Reese's peanut butter cup or that McDonald's or that Starbucks. And guess what? Your brain goes, there we go. And it goes to its happy place. And then next time you try and quit, it works even harder against you. Or you fight like hell to find the next thing you can use as a reward. You change your brain's process and you stick with it. And eventually, most of those bad behaviors will disappear over time. I will admit, I have not quit Reese's peanut butter cups yet. I'm really working on that one. That's my big downfall. But you definitely have to really change your mindset. We do have a comment from Facebook about making sure you set achievable goals and not setting yourself up for failure. Absolutely. That's a big one, because when you're going through all of this, if you don't set those goals to be achievable with some type of a reward system, you just created failure. Definitely.
Absolutely.
You gotta be able to have that mindset to know that with putting forth the work and effort, you can obtain each goal that you want to set. So I think that's even more important.
Yeah, big goals are definitely worthwhile, but you need to have some shorter term goals that are achievable so that you do get those rewards along the way. Otherwise, it's just too difficult to keep going.
Well, and I think there's a big thing that I learned, if I may, for just a moment.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way about this. Quitting is an option, whether people want to admit that or not. That's the facts. It is. I learned it's something that I should never choose.
Right.
I used to quit, and you mentioned this in the opening monologue, Heather, if I may, and I'll be brief.
No, go ahead.
You mentioned something that we're polar opposites on the quitting aspect of things. Well, God, a long time ago, that's what I used to do. That's what I did to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was worthless. You go down the word listings. That's what I felt. And with any goals, I didn't have any goals. Good God. I mean, I was barely able to just do what I wanted to do back then. So I had to, as the individual who commented, I had to set forth goals I knew I could achieve, but I had to ultimately make that choice, put the work in, take ownership and accountability for my actions and for my choices mentally, and then where the mind goes, the body will follow.
Right.
I had to get my mind right first. So is quitting an option? I'm afraid it is. Should you ever choose it? No.
Absolutely. And, setting those goals, Dallas always says, ink it. And I agree, but don't number one, ink goals that are so far away that they start to seem, I'd love to be down to, maybe 140 pounds, and I'm 190 now. 50 pounds is just an absolutely ridiculous goal. That's completely unobtainable. Anyways, I can't get 50 pounds like that. Can I lose 5 pounds? Yeah, I could probably lose 5 pounds, and then I can say, okay, reset my goals. But that's the other thing. Don't ever be afraid to reset your goals.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Never be afraid to fail, because failure is the ultimate way to learn and how to improve.
Right.
Certainly. And I'm an example of that. I mean, look at my goals. Well, I don't know if you have that picture I sent you earlier of what I looked like just over a year ago today. At that time, I weighed 380 pounds. I was in a hospital, and the picture was taken while I was unconscious in the ICU. I was in an induced coma at the time. But when I got out of the ICU, they'd pumped me up full of fluids. I weighed 380 pounds. I was a Dr. Pepper-holic. I drank at least 2 and sometimes more 2-liter bottles of Dr. Pepper a day. I was the guy who ate a box of cookies, bag of chips. If you're going to have a donut, why not have 6? I was that guy. I would eat whatever. It's a terrible diet. And then when they moved me to the rehab hospital, I had been to the point where everything that happened that kind of knocked me down a rung, there was never any bounce back to it. It was just a steady decline. And so you can imagine how depressing it was, to where I eventually ended up in essentially in a recliner, and I had to use a wheelchair to get around. And then when I was in the rehab hospital, they started me walking with a walker, and I started seeing improvement for the first time in years. And I don't mean 1 or 2 years. I'm talking 8 or 9 years. And so at that point, that's where the switch flipped for me. It wasn't when I got to DDPY. It was the rehab people had got me up. I was walking around with a walker. And the first day, I took 2 steps forward and 2 steps backwards. That's it. I was wiped out for the day. But it kept building on that to where, eventually I was walking through the whole building and walking around outside. By the time I got home, they sent me a rehab, a physical therapist that I think was useless. But along the way, I'd remembered seeing Arthur's video, and I went and checked out the website. And when I realized that they had the rebuild program where you could start in bed, I forget the free trial. I signed up immediately, and it's changed my life. And the reward system has completely changed along the way. You can have big goals. My number one goal when I first started was to be able to get up out of my wheelchair and walk again. Was it a big goal? I didn't know it was even possible at the time. It was a big goal. It took me 9 months. It's happened. My goals have had to be completely reevaluated. Yep. And I don't want to take up all of your time now. Could we go into that?
This is our time.
But my reward system for things like that has completely changed. There was a time when I was doing, I started off with BedFlex. I moved to Chairforce. I went to Stand Strong. And along the way, I also started going to the gym because I needed some of the machinery to allow me to work on strength without having to deal with my balance issues. I'm since then started working on my balance. But it's along the way, I started doing some crazy workouts where people have seen them. I posted up some huge calorie burn days, and at one time, I think the highest I got on the board was in the top 50. But several months I was in the top 100 consistently. I'm not points driven anymore. It doesn't. There's I do a lot more times where I'm riding my bike or I'm swimming, and so those kinds of things don't lend themselves to running the app anyway.
Right.
And so, just this past week, I went for a really long ride. I was out of the house for 4.5 hours riding, and I stopped someplace and went in and I walked around, talked to people. That was my reward. I get to do stuff now. I went somewhere. I got to do stuff. I came home. It wasn't work. Some people might look at it and go, 4.5 hours riding and doing that, a hell of a workout. No, that was fun. I get to do stuff now.
I think my reward system's completely different than anyone else's. I'm my reward's being alive. I don't deserve to be. That's just the facts. I really don't, and I shouldn't be. So being able to be alive is my goal, man. So just being, as Gary mentioned, doing things. Same boat with myself. Just being able to live life, and for the first time in the 3 years, enjoy living. I think I'm doing all right.
And for those that didn't understand what Gary was talking about, understand that for the three of us, our journeys to where we are now all started really with DDP Yoga. And though this group is not a DDP Yoga group, and we do have people that are in this group that don't do DDP Yoga, the address is up on the banner. DDP Yoga is a program that was designed by Diamond Dallas Page. It combines traditional yoga with dynamic resistance, calisthenics, and interval training. But there is some great programs on there where you can start laying in bed or sitting in a chair. I started actually laying in bed. I did that for, I think, a week, and then I sat in the chair for like 3 weeks, and I built my way up. But all three of us kind of started our journeys, but it's Adam stuck really hard with the DDP Yoga. Gary and I, it's been kind of our gateway to branch off into being able to do other things, because we were both in situations that we really couldn't do things. Gary with his issues, me with the autoimmune diseases. And now, Gary's, God, he wasn't sure he was ever going to walk again, and he's riding a bike and working out in a gym. You heard Adam say that he shouldn't even be here. He's lost 266 pounds. I think I'm right. That's on correct. That one.
Yep.
And then with the autoimmune diseases I have and the sciatica, there's days where I can hardly get out of bed, but, I do my workouts and I feel great. So we have different goals, but that's what Gary was talking about, was the DDP Yoga. So if you're interested in looking at that, you can go to ddpyoga.com. That's where we all started, but it's
started when it was YRG, so I'm the dinosaur in this group.
Well, yeah, you are the dinosaur of the group. Yeah, Yoga for Regular Guys.
Yeah, you're the old man.
I'm the old man on this.
Yeah.
Group.
So,
oh my.
And yeah, there are those people out there that say your goals should never change. My goal, I guess it's fair to say my goals haven't changed. It's how I want to get to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My goal has always been to reduce my pain and be able to live my life. I might have to modify my life because I'm going to have good days and bad, but to be able to get back to doing the things that meant so much to me, taking care of my family, training my dogs, spending time with my daughter, now spending time with my granddaughter. And being able to get out and do things. That's always been my goal. And somewhere along the line, I got lost with weight loss measurements, pictures, things like that. And I realized that for my specific goal of being out of pain, weight loss measurements and clothing sizes are numbers that don't represent pain levels in any way, shape, or form. What I did do, and I encourage anyone who's doing, yoga, DDPY, whatever you're doing, weightlifting, do it in front of a mirror, because it's so important. Here, I've been doing this at home so long, and I thought, God, I'm not getting it. I'm getting more flexible, but these poses are hard. I looked like an elephant. I mean, I just said all these horrible things about myself. And one day I decided to be brave enough and do my yoga routine, which is a routine that I've created for myself, that makes my body feel the best. I did it in front of a mirror at the gym, and I watched myself do these poses, and I went, oh my God. And then I had my daughter start taking pictures, which I've posted up on some forums and on my personal page. And I thought, oh my God, my forms actually look pretty decent. And I realized I was actually more capable than I thought I could be, or I thought I was. And that's what drove me to going, okay, so picking 100 poses, and some of them I can already do, but picking 100 poses, it gives me a couple of poses I can work on. I might be able to obtain one a week or so. I can make a board where I can see my progress. But what it's going to do is it's going to make me lose the weight, lose the inches, and lose the dress sizes. Those are all going to have to naturally happen in order for me to hit a lot of the poses I want to hit. And I'm talking the crazy ones, folks. I'm talking, the handstands and the arm stands, and I mean, there's so many goofy ones out there, all the ones that make you look like a pretzel. I want to do them all. Well, I can't do them right now. My boobs, my stomach, my hips, my thighs, those are all in the way. So in order to get to those, I got to lose the weight. I got to put the work in. But it gives me a really nice way of measuring my goals as I go. But I have to say, I mean, I did an hour workout for the first time in 5 months today. I did an hour-long yoga workout, and I feel great. I'm not dead. I'm not in pain. So, it's working. But I've had to adjust how I do it, and that's what's really important.
Isn't this unbelievable how this properly titled Transformation Roundtable, look what the three of us and everyone watching here can attribute to their own transformation and the ultimate goal of what our subject is tonight, the psychology of quitting. We didn't quit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make sense to me? My God, look what Gary's doing. Look what you're doing, Heather, for the love of Christ. That's astonishing. In all of our own personal aspects. That's what transformation is all about. The mind to the body.
Absolutely.
To how you act, to how you react, adapt, take action, to how you say, hell no, I'm not going to quit. Because
Sorry, I'm going to break one of our cardinal rules here, and I'm actually going to post a comment that is not showing who it's from, but this comment is so important for all of us.
Sure.
It says, thank you guys for doing this blog. I'm Wendell from the Rebuild video, and due to some personal reasons, stopped doing DDPY. Watching you has made me want to get back into it.
I seen that, and I'm really grateful that he said
congratulations.
that. I'm really happy, Wendell. That's tremendous.
Wendell, this is why we do it. And let
Absolutely.
me tell you, we're really proud of you for that.
Proud. Very
Super proud of you for wanting to get back into it.
Proud of you for stepping forward.
Thank you. Yeah, because I mean, again, just to piggyback off of both of them, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah,
that's what we're all doing for each other, and that's what you all do for us. Is give us that extra to go. I'm going to go do this, or hey, I can go ride the bike for 4 hours like Gary, or hey, I can swim 2 or 3 miles, or I can do whatever I want to do, and say, I can. There isn't no such thing as I can't. No, I can't yet.
Right.
I'm working on it. That's what quitting is. Says you can't. That's quitting.
Right.
Yeah, and people always, there's a number of people in one variation or another are always asking, how do you stay motivated? And, for myself, part of how I stay motivated is this program, because I try to help motivate others. Being able to help others and do these things drives me forward. So there are times when if I tell someone, finds a way to help someone else, motivate them, To me, a rising tide lifts all boats, including your own. And that's how I motivate myself. So, some people might go, well, especially like with Adam, with how long he's been doing it, it's, well, this is easy for you. No, it's not. We all have the same battle. 90% of this battle is fought between your ears.
Absolutely.
It's always fought between the ears. And I'm glad you said that, Gary, because we all spoke about this earlier. Where the mind goes, the body is going to follow.
Mm-hmm.
When your mind's built up and ready to rock, now you got to build your body up to meet to that level. And, Gary, you've even said this before, I'm paraphrasing. The more involved you are, the better it is, or some type of situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without being involved, without engaging, communicating, actual communication, talking, going outside your comfort zone, and saying, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to lay down for nobody. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say I can't. That's powerful. And when your mind's in that element, there's no stopping you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, one of the things I want to say, we're not a DDP yoga group, but, we all, we have started there.
We have some strong ties.
We do. And for me,
lifelong.
For me personally, DDPY gave me the courage to try different things. It gave me some self-respect back, some self-worth back, some self-esteem. And what I did find, and it's something that I've struggled with for the last couple of months, is that every time I tried to do DDPY, I was getting pain. And it was knocking me on my ass. And so I turned to swimming, and swimming made me feel great. But I still missed doing the DDPY. And I took a chance a couple of weeks ago and said, okay, I'm going to create my own workouts with the specific exercises that make me feel good. The ones that I know my back is adjusting. I adjusted my knee today. Make my neck feel better, make my joints feel better. And I also stopped doing dynamic resistance. And what I found is the stretching and the long holding of poses actually, for me, made me feel better. Am I doing traditional DDPY? No. Am I doing traditional yoga? No, I'm not a namaste person. I don't want the sage and the incense waved in my face. I don't like that. I have created a system that works for me. So I guess now we've got the Adam system. Now I'm on the Heather system. What I'm doing wouldn't work for Gary, probably wouldn't work for Adam, but it's working for me. And that's what you have to do, is you have to figure out, what is your body telling you and what is your mind telling you, and figure out how to mesh those into your system.
Absolutely.
Anybody else's rules. You don't have to do a specific diet program. You don't have to do a specific exercise program. What you have to do is do what's right for you that you can stick with. Don't put yourself on a diet you can't stick with. If you're going on a big exclusionary diet where you're going to eat nothing but chicken and broccoli for 3 months, can you really eat chicken and broccoli for 3 months?
Yeah.
Are you setting yourself up for failure?
Yes, you can. It's
okay.
No comment.
I love food way too much. I can't. And that's why it's so good. Everybody's different, and you will be more successful knowing how to condition your brain. You're working on conditioning your body with your exercise and your diet, but why aren't you conditioning your brain? And that's what tonight was about, was conditioning your brain to accept changing your behavior to make you the better you, the best you that you can. And that's so important.
And I want to interrupt for a moment because, I wish we had Scott here with us, because he's an important part of doing these things as well. Look up Scott French for in the group and whatnot. He is, he focuses on, strengthening your mind, and one of the main tools he uses is the attitude of gratitude, because it is very difficult to be down on yourself and just have a, sour outlook when you are grateful for what you have. I'm really paraphrasing it and not doing a good job. So look up Scott and talk to him about, ask him about the attitude of gratitude. It mentally, it's a game changer as well.
Yeah, I'm living proof of that also, and I've told Scott that in private, I put those things up there every day, and,
Mhm.
and my goodness, I hope people will reach or seek what he does out, or any of us for that matter. And you
Yeah,
can get a lot of great information from everybody in the group or any groups that you're in. Look and go outside that box and see what everyone else is kind of doing, or kind of what their philosophy is, and make it fit for you, and make your own system, as all of us
absolutely.
may have,
Uh,
or do your own thing, and make sure you're happy with yourself, happy with what you're getting, and keep moving forward. There's no wrong way to do this. You know what the bottom line is?
Absolutely.
We all have the same ultimate goal, but taking a different path is good. Take that path, and damn it, own it. Go
Well,
do
Yeah.
it.
absolutely.
Go
And,
do it.
I mean, if anybody's looked on the Transformation Roundtable group, they saw that I put up a video last week where I was doing a back extension machine, and I did 50 reps at 260 pounds. Am I here to recommend that anybody else do that? No. Why do you want to? I have a reason for it, and that's my back has to be strong enough to be able to, the muscles have to be strong enough to support me, because my bone structure is such that it's not getting the job done. I don't have blown, ruptured discs or herniated discs. Mine are gone. I've got, two discs that are, they're the L3, 4, and 5. Those two discs are gone, and I'm bone on bone on those.
And Gary just disappeared.
And hey, of course.
Adam, are
But
you still there?
Yes, I'm still here, Heather.
Oh, we lost Gary.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to Gary. We
I'm not
lost
sure.
Gary.
We lost another fearless teammate of ours. What's going
Yeah.
on here? But
I don't know.
well, just to kind of piggyback off of or what we were just saying
Yeah.
earlier, if that's okay, like people ask me all the time, Heather, and we've maybe even spoke about this. Adam, what number are you on today, or do I need to do this? No. Do what works for you. Do
Absolutely.
what gives you that result that you're searching for. If you want to take a day off, go do it. If you need to modify what I say, take it at that grain of salt and modify it, do that. I all am for modification and making it your own. That's important. Is having that accountability of knowing, okay, now I have it now. If I quit, that's on me. That's nobody else. That's me. And I'm one of the living proofs, like anybody else. My gosh, if I quit, I wouldn't be here. So
Well, I just posted up today. I posted up it's my 11 months. I mean, my 1 month or my 1 year with DDPY is coming up in July.
yep.
And for, I don't know, for a whole year, is there a huge difference? No. Look, I actually weigh more now than I did when I started last July. I weigh a few pounds more now. I've lost 30 some inches. I've gone through a couple of changing jobs. I've given up my career. I got diagnosed with these autoimmune diseases. I've changed my diet. I've completely changed my exercise program. I have a whole new lifestyle. Is there a difference in those numbers? Some in the measurements, some in the dress size, a little bit in the weight. But the difference is I'm living again. I'm actually able to do grocery shopping and push a shopping cart for a little bit, not too heavy of a one. I'm actually able to take care of my family again. I'm working again. I'm actually able to be here talking to you guys and helping other people without the influence of opioids, without being on a ton of Tylenol or Motrin that's destroying my kidney and my liver, without being on prescription drugs. I'm dealing with osteoarthritis, fibromyalgia, and rheumatoid arthritis without prescription drugs, and living life as full as I can. And that's where we all have to modify for what's best for our bodies.
And for our lifestyle, you said
Right.
the key
Absolutely.
word. Lifestyle is the biggest word here. Is lifestyle.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm the polar opposite of what Heather just said, because about just over a year ago, I weighed 380 pounds. I'm down to 260 now, so that's 120 in a year, and I'm coming up on my 1 year with DDPY mid July, and going from being virtually bedridden to up and going about. Life has changed dramatically for me.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
you both are a testament to what lifestyle can be for those who put the work in, and say, hell no, I'm not going to quit, and say, hey, I'm going to work on improving every single day, and every moment I'm
Absolutely.
still here,
And
because
every single day, you can't, from one day to the next, is there like, did anything, big happen from one day to the next? No.
no, of course not. Well, it's
Can't tell
like
the difference one day to the next.
Well, it's like I always say, and I stand by this: live for the now, not for tomorrow, not for the past. That none of those things matter. Now does. Live for the now. Think about the now.
And we're never guaranteed tomorrow.
Exactly, because
Exactly.
again, that's overthinking things. Think about what you're doing right now. Then you're staying within the boundaries of not over exuding yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if we've all, those of us who are in the DDPY groups, if we've learned anything this week, it is definitely that you're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're at an hour, believe it or not, already, guys.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're wrapping it up. What do we have coming up next week?
Well, let me finish my thought.
Okay.
As I'm sure I'm echoing your guys' sentiment. We want to send out our heartfelt condolences to Hayden with the loss of Laura. And if there's anything that we have definitely learned, it's that you got to hug your loved ones. You got to make the most of every day, because you don't know what you're going to have tomorrow or the next day. And we really want to encourage everyone to set your goals, set them to be obtainable, work every single day at making your life better, but reach out and make someone else's life better too. Because we get, no matter how much people think that we give everybody else by doing this show, we get back tenfold.
Agreed.
And so, we want
some.
to send our condolences out to Hayden,
Yeah.
to the family at the PC, because we know this is affecting, them as well, and to all of our DDPY brothers and sisters. We're all in this grief process together. And so just really, 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 if you come away with nothing else this week, reach out to someone else, pay it forward, help someone that you see that needs help, do a random act of kindness, do it for those that are no longer here to do it. All right. All right. So Gary, let's talk about upcoming shows.
Okay. I was just bringing it up. I don't have the everything directly in front of me. I know we're looking at doing a panel discussion, but I don't have my notes.
We're doing upcoming. We're looking at next Monday doing a panel discussion on different diets that people are eating: keto, Mediterranean, the Adam Special diet, whatever that is, the hidden special diet. We're going to be talking about the differences, not encouraging one diet over the other, just discussing how some people are going to have different diets for their different situations, and kind of giving some information about that. I don't have my notes in front of me either. We talked about a whole bunch of different things coming up. We've got a couple of special guests, but we don't want to announce them until we actually talk to them and see if they're going to come on. But should be really exciting. We've got things planned for probably the next 5 or 6 shows in the works. So our shows are always Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. You can figure it out from there. And we always try and do some question and answer. We had some great ones. I think that one, Wendell said that he spent a lot of time at the PC getting yelled at with love from Dallas, and he misses it. He's going to have to do it at home now, but our motivation will help him. Wendell, thanks again.
Yeah, very
We really
honored that you say
appreciate
that.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Deborah, I want to close this with Deborah's comment being the final comment. She said the greatest advice is the advice you give to others and realize that you should be taking your own advice.
Very
and
interesting.
I like that a lot.
Mhm.
I like that because, I have to say, we can all sit up here and say, hey, keep strong, do what you got to do. And there's always going to be a day where, one of us may not be that strong and we may need to lean on other people too. But absolutely, listen to yourself, listen to your body. Kate, I'm sorry, Kate, I can't pronounce your last name. I'm putting you up here. Said, thanks for this. I took notes and I'm planning to implement them in my goal setting.
That's fantastic.
Oh.
We'd love to hear that.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
we appreciate everyone's engagement and even giving us their time to watch this is very honoring for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody has any questions after the broadcast, feel free to reach out to any of us. We will, I think tonight we'll put up a post tonight or tomorrow morning in the Transformation Roundtable where you can ask some further questions. We can open a little bit more discussion on it. If there's I don't see anything else coming up. So we really appreciate your time. You guys have any closing remarks?
Nope, I'm good. And until next time, as usual, I've got work to do.
Adam?
I just want to say thanks for always, having me be a part of this with both of you is very honoring for me, and just being alive is a great thing for me. Doing what I do for over 15 years, just being a part of this and doing what we're doing is special to me. It means a lot. And again, I'm honored, and never give up, never quit, and own your life. And we'll catch you down the road.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for watching. We will get this posted up on our website tomorrow. Feel free to share it. Remember, if you're going to share it to a group, please make sure you have permission from the admins first, not just one, but a couple of them. Please share it to your personal page. Share it with friends, family, anyone that might need help with the message. Invite your friends to the group. And we will see you guys all on the flip side. Bye, everybody.
Adios.
Bye.